Alright, so, I am going to be trying to look at some Warhammer stuff. Well, wargaming stuff. A lot of it's going to be focused on Warhammer stuff. It'll all make sense in the end. I hope. So I'm doing like kind of a test run with this, seeing how it works, how many people actually enjoy it. And if not, I'll stop. But I'm gonna give it a good try here. And what I wanted to start with is an army that's very near and dear to my heart, which is the Orruk Warclans, or Orruk Warclans. I will always refer to them as Orc. So if you hear me say Orc or Orruk, I mean Orc. That's what I mean. Now I've always been a huge Orc fan. They were my first kit I ever purchased getting into Warhammer originally was a box of Black Orc. So sorry, somebody work was texting me, of course, as soon as I start doing a video, right? So what I want to do, because like I said, that's my first love when it comes to any kind of wargaming is Orc, and in particular it was the Black Orcs. So we're going to be doing the Ironjawz as our focus on. So, because this book, in case you guys weren't aware, some people may be new to the game, or maybe just getting into it, or know about it vaguely or something. This has 4 different army factions essentially in it. You got the Cruel Boys, this guy. You got the Ironjawz, this guy. And you got the Bone Splitters, these guys. They all function as their own army, but then there's also the Big Wog, which you can actually have them function as one big army. My one chief complaint about the rules in this book is that you can't actually mix and match most of the models from one faction to another without going into Big Wog, which really sucks, because it's like if you're doing Cruel Boys and you're like, man, I just want a tank, or I want some, tanky units. I just want to throw some brutes in here. You can't do that. Or if you're doing Ironjawz and you're like, man, I just want some archers, and you want to throw some Bone Splitter archers in there because they're pretty decent archers there. You can't do it. So it's only way to mix and match really is that the Big Wog, which has its own rules and abilities, and for the most part you don't get to access other rules, like the Ironjawz factions and stuff like that. Cruel Boys, you get to use the allegiance abilities, I believe, but not anything else. So anyway, all that being said, let's see what else. And then the only 2 models that really can bounce from one to another is going to be Kragnos and Gordrak. I'm like, what is his name? Why can't I think of his name? Now, before we get into the book, I am a firm believer in some things are best left in the book. I'm not going to review the entire book with you. There's a lot of stuff in this book, a lot of background lore, painting guides, stuff like that. If you're interested in that stuff, I recommend picking up the book. I wouldn't want to sit here and tell you, like I'm going to show you cover to cover every aspect of this book. I'm going to show you the stuff that pertains directly to Ironjawz first, and if the videos are successful, then I'll do the other 3 factions in the book. But for the most part, and I'll go over the War Scrolls individually. But for the most part, I'm going to leave a lot of the rest of the book stuff untouched, because that's something that I do think that if you're interested in this doing this army, I recommend picking up the book. It's it's going to be your best guide. And if you can find the War Scroll cards, I always recommend the War Scroll cards too, because they're super handy when you're having a game. My box kind of broke. I'm sad about that, but when you're having a game, it's really handy to just be like, okay, here's my mega boss. I don't have to thumb through the book for his War Scroll, which I'm kind of bummed out that the as of recording this, which who knows when it's going up, is October 14th, which means it is Orktober, by the way. But so it's currently Friday, October 14th, and what was I saying? And as of now, it looks like the Sons of Behemoth are not getting War Scroll cards for the new releases, which I am so bummed about. I really wanted some War Scroll cards for them. I have the previous book and the previous cards, so yeah. So anyway, let's crack this open and we'll start looking at some stuff. So first off, we're going to go to the Ironjawz battle traits. So you can pick one of the following sub-factions for your armies. All Ironjawz units in the army. I don't know how well you can read that. There we go. All Ironjawz units in your army gain the keyword of the sub-faction you pick, and you can use the allegiance abilities for that sub-faction. If a unit already has a different sub-faction keyword on its war scroll, it cannot gain another one. This does not preclude you from including that into your army, but you cannot use the allegiance ability. I believe in, like the Iron Scroll boys, I believe they're Iron Sons, so if you do Blood Tooths, they wouldn't be able to get Blood Tooths. Ironjawz Wog. Once per battle at the start of your charge phase, you can pick one friendly Ironjawz general on the battlefield and say it's calling in a Ironjawz Wog. Until the end of the turn, add 1 to charge rolls for friendly Ironjawz units and improve the Rin characteristics of melee weapons by Ironjawz unit by 1. Which almost all of them have Rin, so it's pretty good. Alright, Mighty Destroyers. If you use this command ability in your hero phase, the model that issues the command must be an Ironjawz model. Makes sense. And the unit receives the command must be an Ironjawz unit. Again, makes sense. If the unit that received the command is more than 12 inches from all enemies, you must make a normal move with that unit. If the unit that receives the command with it is within 3 inches of an enemy unit, you must make a pile-in move. And if the unit is within 12 inches of a unit and more than 3 inches from all enemy units, you must attempt to make a charge. So, basically it's a free move in your hero phase, which is pretty nice. Smashing and bashing. In the combat phase, after a friendly Ironjawz unit has fought, if any enemy units were destroyed by an attack made by that unit, you can pick one friendly Ironjawz unit that have not yet fought in that combat phase, and that is within 3 inches of an enemy unit. That friendly Ironjawz unit fights immediately. So if you do it right, you could essentially get all your units to fight just one right after another if you're destroying small units. Alright, now command traits. For mega bosses only, Hulking Brute. After the general makes a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of them and roll a dice. On a 2+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So that's pretty good. Mega Bossy, the general can issue the Mighty Destroyers command even if it has already issued another. Even if it has already been issued by another, so you can do the same one twice. Usually you can't, so that's good. Mighty Wog Leader. If the general calls an Ironjawz Wog, you can re-roll charge rolls for a friendly Ironjawz unit wholly within 12 inches of them until the end of turn. And then Champions of the Weird, Ironjawz wizards only. Before attempting to cast a spell with this general, you must pick a unit within 6 inches of them. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, but you can add the number of mortal wounds caused to that unit to the casting roll of the spell. If you pick this general to suffer the mortal wounds and they are slain by one of those wounds, the spell is not successfully cast. Obviously, if you die in the midst of casting your spell, you can't use it. And then Master of the Weird, you can pick one extra spell for this general from the lore of Weird. So it doesn't say you can cast 2 spells. You just have 2 spells you have access to. Alright. Artifacts of Power. Again, Mega Boss only. The bearer of this has a ward of 6 up. Orruk Warclans. And you can add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by the bearer. However, you must subtract 2 from the bearer's move characteristic. And the bearer cannot... Oh, man. That's awful. Do not do that. I cannot recommend that one. I mean, maybe if you're using the Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, because they usually have like, what, 10, 12? They start with a 12-inch move, so I put it down to 10. But most Ironjawz have a 4-inch move, so if you subtract 2 from his move characteristics, dude's not moving at all. Alright, Destroyer. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons once per battle. At the start of the combat phase, you can add 3 damage to the damage characteristics of the weapons until the end of the phase. So, yeah, it's going to do a lot of damage that one turn, and then it's done. And then Boss Skewer. Add 1 to the bravery characteristics of friendly Ironjawz units while they are wholly within 18 inches of the bearer. Subtract 1 from bravery characteristics of enemy units while they are within 12 inches of the bearer. So that one's decent. This one's great for at least 1 hit. Or one combat phase. This one, I can't recommend it for a ward of 6 up. I mean, that's... Yeah. Alright, and then moving forward. So, let's see. So this goes into the big wog. We'll cover that later. Mount traits. Regardless of the type of Orruk Warclan army you choose, you can pick one of the Orc heroes with a mount in your army to have one of the following mount traits. So this would be like your Maw Crusher in this case. So we've got Toughen, monster only, unless the model has a number of wounds allocated to it that exceeds half its wound characteristic. Use the top row of the damage regardless of how many wounds it has suffered. So it means it'll hit harder for a little bit longer. Fasten. Once per battle in your hero phase, this model can make a normal move. So that's pretty good. Meenun. Monster only. When you carry out the Stomp Monstrous Rampage with this model, the enemy unit you pick suffers D6 mortal wounds on a 2+ instead of D3 mortal wounds. So that's good. Loudon. When you carry out the War Monstrous Rampage with this model, pick all enemy units within 3 inches of the model instead of 1. Weirdun. This model has a ward of 4+ against mortal wounds caused by spells and abilities of endless spells. That's a good one to put on your Maw Crusher. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure you can do mount traits for like named characters like Gordrak. So yeah. Smellian. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target this model if it has not made a charge move in the same turn. So yeah, all those are pretty good. I would say your best options, the ones I would probably like the most, probably your Toughen, Fasten, and your Weirden. Those are my top 3 picks there. Moving forward, Ironjawz Warclans, Iron Sons. Let's see here. I'm not going to read this stuff. I'm just going to read what it actually means. So, Iron Sons, you can use this command ability at the end of the enemy charge phase. The unit that receives this command must be a friendly Ironjawz unit that is within 12 inches of an enemy unit and more than 3 inches from all enemy units. The Ironjawz unit can attempt to charge. So you get to you could try to charge in your enemy's charge phase. Yeah. These orcs like to fight. Bloodtooths. At the end of the combat phase, friendly Bloodtooths Gorgruntas units that fought in that phase and are within 3 inches from an enemy unit, from any enemy units, can make a pile-in move. In addition, those that fought but are not within 3 inches of an enemy unit, of any enemy units, can each make a normal move or attempt to charge. So basically they can fight again. But yeah, it's it's one of those, like, if you're in combat, it's not going to help you all that much, but yeah. But I don't know, maybe. Actually, it just says you pile in, so you just get closer to them. Alright, Dachapas. When you use the Violent Fury ability of a friendly Dachapas War Chanter, you can pick up to 3 different Dachapas Brutes units or Dachapas Ardboy units in any combination to be affected by the ability instead of 1. So that one's pretty good. I like the Dachapas and I like the Iron Sons. Bloodtooth is it's fine. Yeah. So this is more in the, I believe, the Path to Glory. Yeah. So War Scroll battalions, it's going into like what you have to have for the War Scroll battalion. So I'll just kind of let you look that over here. There's the bottom ones. And there's the top ones. Just go ahead and pause it if you want to read it. But for the most part, we're going to just move on. Alright. So, we've got grand strategies for match play. Show 'em who's boss. So, it was like, this is Ironjawz, that's Cruel Boys, that's Bone Splitters, that's Wog, and that's Crump 'em All. So first one that would affect Ironjawz is Show 'em who's boss. You can pick the grand strategy only if the model picked to be your general has the Ironjawz keyword. When the battle ends, you complete the strategy if 2 or more enemy heroes are slain by attacks made by that general, and your general has not been slain. So, yeah. Kill him. Wog, when the battle ends, you complete the strategy if the model you picked to be general or friendly battle line unit is wholly within enemy territory. But I think that's more for Big Wog. Crump 'em all. You can pick this. You can only pick this grand strategy if your army includes Kragnos, Gobsprak, or Gordrak. When the battle ends, you complete this strategy if there are fewer than 3 enemy units on the battlefield. So if you just kill everything, you're good. Battle tactics. So these are all the battle tactics. Let's see here. This is Bone Splitters. This one's Bone Splitters. Kill the big one. Take that, you suckers, as Cruel Boys. So we've got Time to Get Stuck In. You can pick this battle tactic only if only in your first or second turn. You complete this tactic if the model picked to be your general and all of the models in your army that are on the battlefield are within 12 inches of an enemy unit at the end of the turn. So you just basically get to combat as quickly as you can. Wait for it, lads. You can pick this battle tactic only if your army has at least 24 WOG points. So that's more for the big WOG. Squash the puny gits. This one's for Ironjawz. You can pick this battle tactic only if your model picked to be your general has Ironjawz keywords, and there are at least one enemy battle line unit on the battlefield. You complete this tactic if there are no enemy units on the battlefield at the end of the turn. So you gotta kill all of them. Destroyer of Empires, that's only if you have Kragnos. So. And then finally, core battalions. So the only ones that will really affect you is the Ironjawz Fist, because Cruel Boy's Fingers, Bone Splitter's Ruck are for those armies only. So Cruel Boys. So basically, you have to have at least 2 of your battle line units, or your core units, and then here it says Ironjawz troops. Units that is not leader, artillery, or behemoth. So we're talking Ardboys, Brutes, and Gorgruntas. And I think you could put the whatchamacallits, Morgrock's Crushers and the Iron Skull Boys. I believe those would count too. And what it does is Slayers. Once per battle, a unit from this battalion can receive the all-out attack or unleash Hell Command without a command point being issued and without a command point being spent. So yeah, that's pretty handy. But not like... those little things like that can actually add up pretty quickly. So then when we go in here, we've got the War Scrolls. First, you gotta get through all the Cruel Boys. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Cruel Boys. They're some fantastic models. But then we get into the Ironjawz, and we're gonna actually look at each of these kits coming up. Briefly, like look at the frames, how they look, and then how I've got them assembled at the end of it. So, what sucks is that these 2 Morgrock's Crushers and Iron Skull Boys, they seem to be discontinued model-wise. So if you're looking at picking those up, I do recommend getting them. I will say that a few times throughout the range of these videos. And then I think the last thing... Now you might want to check to see if there were updates, but here's our pitch battle profiles. Ardboys, unit sizes start at 5. Points are 85. They are battle line. Brutes, unit size 5. Points 160. Battle line. Let's see here. Megaboss, 140. Leader. War Chanter, 115. Leader. Shaman, 90. Leader. Gordrak, the Fist of Gork, 560, leader, Behemoth. Let's see here. Megaboss on Maw Crusher, 480, leader, Behemoth. Iron Skull Boys, 480, single, unique. Morgrock's Crushers, 3. 90 points and single unique. Gorgruntas, 3 at 150, battle line in only the Bloodtooth's army. And that is it. And you can ally in some Gloomspite Gits if you want. So. Alright, so that's all we got for those today. And then, next week we'll start looking at some of the models and the war scrolls individually, just kind of slowly one at a time. In some cases, 2 or 3 at a time. But for the most part, we'll be able to focus a little bit more on them individually. And we will, just kind of go from there. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully everyone enjoys these videos, and I can keep making them. And I keep making them. But yeah, if I don't get a lot of views, I probably won't continue. But we'll see what happens. So yeah, I guess that's it.